Welcome back, everybody, to our second half of the Mary Elizabeth Jones's Variety Hour.
Here, here.
Yes, here, everybody.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah, so you were talking about toll roads.
yes.
Hate them.
Well, they're a pain in the butt, but you have to pay your fare if you're going to go through the freeway. So
Let me tell you about toll roads. They did away with a lot of them in town on Highway 95, and people hated them.
oh yeah,
Tourists hated them. And what's kind of neat about Richmond is that Highway 95 goes right through Richmond. It's one of the
right,
few. Usually, when you go on Highway 95, you see a lot of things in the distance, but you don't anywhere near
right,
the
right.
main city. Richmond, you actually see the big buildings and everything, and you go right into the heart of it. But there was a toll booth, and a lot of Richmonders didn't worry too much about the toll booth because they felt that if the tourists come and put the money down to pay, then it helps our taxes not paying for for fixing the roads or anything, which
Yeah,
is is a sound idea. But then there was actually a bigger problem, and the bigger problem was that they built another highway with no toll road, which was Highway 295
mhm,
and a few others. And what happened was you could actually skip Richmond altogether and never stop, never eat at the restaurants, never stop at the hotels, never do any of that stuff. Part of the deal was when Highway 95 went through Richmond, they would see what a beautiful town this is, or certainly see
right.
something to do, that they would stop there. But now they can just go on ahead and go to, where would it be, like
Right.
Fredericksburg or somewhere. So, so it was a big deal. I think back in the 90s, they got rid of the toll roads, the toll plazas. There was two of them they got rid of. Yeah,
Yeah, there
one
was
near
one.
Philip Morris and one near uh, uh, uh,
Yeah, Chester and Petersburg area.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that didn't eliminate the toll roads. There's toll roads there's a bridge
Yes.
over here, the
Yes.
Nickel Bridge, which
Yes.
isn't a nickel anymore.
Yeah.
And then there's a and then wish it was a nickel. And then there's one that's a there are other toll roads. The Powell Height Parkway.
Yes.
How's it pronounced? Powell.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was this, like a motorcycle reunion around here?
Yeah. It should be a motorcycle festival
I
around
know.
here.
When I was a kid, I was very big into like filming stuff, and I loved motorcycles a lot, like
Yeah.
most kids. And every year they would protest all the guys with motorcycles. This is a time when that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Not didn't want to wear helmets,
Yes.
so they would go to the state capitol to have a rally. And basically, I think it was a rally. The real reason was they wanted to get rid of the wearers wanted to get rid of wearing helmets, but the real cool thing was they all got together and had fun and everything. And I said, man, God, I can't wait to grow up and get a motorcycle and join those guys. And never happened. They had. I think what happened was Gary Busey got fell off his motorcycle, and it really hasn't been the same since. And had brain damage as a result, seizures and everything, as a result of not wearing a helmet. And
Yeah.
then he even came around. First, he said that the not wearing a helmet saved him, and then he finally had to say,
Yeah.
"No,
Yeah.
I think if I would have worn a helmet, I'd be in better shape." So, so,
Right.
so now actually, helmets are probably a good thing. I
Yeah.
have a feeling that eventually the insurance companies, I'm an insurance guy. I have a feeling that eventually the insurance companies are going to make everyone in your car wear a helmet. I mean, they wear them
Right.
in race cars, you know. And then if it makes your price go down, it's kind of weird seeing someone even riding a bicycle without a helmet. I have a helmet, but I don't really like wearing a bicycle helmet. But I don't fall off my bicycle like I used to.
Yeah.
What if you were like on an exercycle at the gym? Would they make you wear a helmet there?
Oh no, not that.
So toll roads. So yeah, so they figured out a way
Yeah. They.
forget about alleviating our taxes. People aren't coming here to spend money,
Yes.
tourist money, because tourist money is free money to a community. It's money they didn't have to make, and they brings it from some. They
Yeah.
made it somewhere else, and they bring it here, so that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They. I remember when they were tearing the toll
Mm.
roads down back in
Yeah.
1992.
Yeah. It took
So,
like $1 million to actually get rid of them. Isn't that weird?
well, yeah.
But it was worth. I'm glad that they don't have them for me because I go on
Right.
Highway 95 all the time. Now I gotta ask you. Now, when you're not in a car, do you like tiptoe through the tulips or what?
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll figure out some way. So,
Tiptoe through the tulips was the
yeah.
big hit for Tiny Tim.
Right. Tiny Tim, yes. Tiny
Hmm
Tim. Yeah.
It's an old song. It's from the
Oh,
20s, I
yeah,
think.
I remember the tiny tulips.
It goes. It was a silly song when I was a
He
kid, but
had that
then I
unusual singing voice,
a
too.
falsetto,
Yeah.
and he I think he was of Lebanese descent.
Yes.
Um, I think he was part Jewish too. But that wasn't his real name, Tiny Tim. He was on Laughing, the TV show, and he was kind of a mockery on the show, but he became very popular,
Yeah.
and his songs are actually quite catchy. The way he sings them, they're all like nostalgic songs, old songs from the 20s and stuff on a ukulele.
Yeah.
And and this big hit was Tiptoe Through the Tulips,
Uh,
which is a song, let's face it, I never heard of, I was just a little kid.
yeah.
But then I found out it was a very popular song in the 1920s.
Yeah.
And actually, the lyrics are actually very sad,
Yeah.
uh, about not seeing people ever again. And
Yeah.
I wish I could tiptoe through the tulips with you.
Yeah.
I remember singing it to my grandmother on her deathbed, and it was really sad
Yeah.
because I felt real, and to the point where now I don't even like to hear the song because it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" is a lovely song, and almost every time you have a sing along, they have that song, and Tiny Tim made it famous.
Yeah.
Tiny Tim. My dad once ran into Tiny Tim in New York. He was at a place
Oh.
called Sam Goody Records,
Oh, well,
which originated. It was all over the
I
country,
grew up on Sam Goodies.
but the Sam there was
Yeah.
they had it here in town, but I mean they were everywhere.
Right.
But the original was in New York City, a
Mm.
big. This is before Tower Records and all those other great stores.
Wow.
And Sam Goody, right? My dad is in there on a trip, I think in the 1980s, and he sees Tiny Tim,
Wow.
and he says, "Hello, Mr. Tim."
Uh,
And he says hello to my dad. So anyway, and what's weird about Tiny Tim was he didn't realize that we're not big people, my dad and me. Tiny Tim is like uh 6.5 feet tall. He's almost 7 feet tall. He was
uh,
a big guy,
yeah.
and that was, I guess that was the joke. Tiny Tim. He's not tiny.
Well, I was like,
It's-
why do they even call him Tiny Town?
well, that was the
Right.
joke. And
Right.
and his first album was called God Bless Tiny Tim, which made
Well,
no sense to me at all. But God Bless Tiny Tim is the one of the lines in the Christmas Carol.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't realize Tiny Tim, and then I saw the Scrooge, and we were in a show where I played Scrooge, if you remember,
And I played
and
the spirit.
you played the spirit, one of the spirits,
Yeah.
and but when I first saw Christmas Carol as a kid, I said Tiny Tim, just like the guy on Laughing. If you want to see something very sad, and this is one of the saddest things you can see on the internet. I'm not even sure I want to put it in the comments to this show, but Tiny Tim died on stage.
Oh, yeah. There was a video I saw on YouTube a
Of
while
him,
ago.
he's like, I think he finishes a song,
Yeah, then he faints.
and then and he reaches for something, and then he just plops over, and that was the
Wow.
end.
Yeah.
He died that same day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Few famous performers like Dick Shawn and Joey Ross and Tiny Tim died on stage.
Yes,
Yeah.
there was another
Harry
video.
Einstein.
There
Yeah.
was another video of another famous person that's from a different country.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Who
think he
died?
was
Yeah, I've seen. He was like a comedian. Yeah.
yeah, he was I
Yeah.
think he was a singer, a
Yeah.
performer.
Oh, singer. Okay.
I think he was from a different country.
Yeah.
And it was one of like the
Yeah.
TV pop shows or
Yeah.
something back over there.
Yeah.
I think it was from the Netherlands or
Yeah.
something like Norway.
Yeah.
And he had blonde hair, and then he was
And
like,
the
then he was
video
saying,
on YouTube for that?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I gotta
I
see
could
that.
send it to you.
So put it on the comments. That I
Yeah,
gotta see.
yeah,
Tiny Tim.
yeah. But
we
he
all
was
know.
just, but he was just like, singing along.
And
Then all of
then
a sudden he was like, He
Yeah.
was kind of like looked like he was drugged or something.
You know
And then
Albert.
he starts faint, and then he faints it like
Yeah. Remember Albert Brooks, the comedian?
yeah,
He's in a lot of movies and stuff.
right.
His father was a famous comedian
Mhm,
and was at the Friars roast, and it was a roast for Lucy and
mhm,
Desi Arnaz. This is 1959, and gave
right.
a monologue for like 10 minutes, and it was very funny, one of the funniest ever. And then he
Right.
sat down at his desk
Yeah.
and sat down when the next person came out and died. He fainted, and I think
Uh,
somebody said, "Wake up! It's not that boring," or something. He was dead, and that
yeah.
was Harry Einstein.
Oh
Also,
wow.
there was Joey Ross died. He was the guy that went. He was a comedian, dirty comedian. He was most famous for being on Car 54. Where are you with the
Mhm.
ooh ooh that
Oh
guy?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know. And he was performing two shows.
Mhm.
He did the first show, and then died in the middle between for the second before the second show. His wife came to collect his pay like 2 weeks later, and he only got paid for the first show. He goes, and the guy said, "Well, he didn't do the second show, did he? We're not paying him." He died. The other one was I mentioned Tiny Tim. Dick
Yeah.
Shawn was probably the weirdest. Dick Shawn was doing this like this one man show, and it
Right.
was quite the show from what I understand, where he sings and dances and does comedy. And what happened was in I think San Diego, and he was this type of screaming and yelling type of comedian, and then he like I don't know if he clutched his heart, but he just fainted on the stage,
Yeah.
and nobody went on stage for like 6 minutes
Wow.
because they thought it was part of the act.
Wow.
And they said, so, "Is there a doctor now? Somebody get him." I actually that almost something like that almost happened not to me personally, but it happened to the guy on say Frank Sinatra. I was
Yeah.
actually in the
Oh
audience
yes.
when Frank Sinatra faded, and for some reason
I remember.
I thought that was going to be that could have been the last time I saw Frank. I took his picture. So I've told that story a million times. Sold
Yeah.
it to the National Choir
Yeah.
and everything. But um, it was in real terms. It's almost like the Hindenburg falling, watching it or watching some
Yeah.
disaster. To see something like that happen on stage, and something bad happened, it's awful. Yeah, and to
Yeah.
see it happen to Frank, who everyone
I
liked.
remember when I was here, I heard about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
I was in high school when that
Yeah,
happened. And
yeah. It seemed like I don't think a week goes by on all the shows I do with you or
right.
anyone else.
Right.
I don't mention something having to do with that crazy night.
Yeah.
I never got to see when she was living in town was Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
Would have liked to see her.
Yeah. My grandfather said that he even met her, or somebody he knew met her,
Yeah, she
and
was
when she was
married
married to
John Warner,
John Warner.
the
Yes.
the senator from Virginia who recently died.
Yes.
A good senator. He was there a long time, like 30 years or something.
Yeah.
And I did meet John Warner, and when I was in college,
Mhm.
we was walking down the street, and I was with a friend, and we each got a picture taken with him. This is at a time when people didn't take pictures, and so yeah, but John Warner. So I've seen one guy married to I met one guy who's been married to Elizabeth Taylor. I didn't meet Richard Burton or Eddie
Mhm.
Fisher
Yeah.
or
Nor.
Larry Fortensky.
Yeah. Larry Fortensky was the last guy she
Was the
married.
last guy she married.
I
Yes.
remember looking at her wedding pictures from a magazine.
Yeah.
She was married to Larry Fortensky.
You know what David Letterman says about people like Elizabeth Taylor or Larry King or people like that? He
Well,
goes, they confuse getting married with dating.
yeah. Well, why didn't she just stay married to Richard Burton? She loved him more than her other husbands did.
Well, no, you always think the current husband you're going to love more than all the others. And actually, I don't think that was her. I think that wasn't her the one she liked the most. I think the one she liked the most was the guy who died in the plane crash, who was
Oh.
Michael Todd.
Oh.
But then who's the other guy? Eddie Fisher.
Yeah.
Uh, then she left. In other words, she broke up Eddie Fisher's marriage,
Uh huh.
and then she married, and then she then went on to with Debbie Reynolds, and then Richard Burton came along and broke up the marriage with Eddie Fisher and Elizabeth Taylor. And always remember that if somebody leaves you for somebody else, no, if somebody leaves somebody else for you, it's only a matter of time that they're going to. leave you for somebody else. So be wary about who
I
you
just
pick.
thought she was weird for getting married 8 times.
Hmm.
I'd rather get married one time, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because I want to stay committed.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But you want to know something? Nobody goes like Elizabeth Taylor. Nobody goes into a marriage. I think even Elizabeth Taylor thought this is the last time I'm getting married, and then seven more husbands. Yeah. One of them she married twice. She married
Bridget Burton
Richard
twice.
twice.
Yeah.
Love is never better the second time around. You think of Elizabeth Taylor, and it didn't work out the second time. And Richard Burton didn't work out with Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood. In fact, it ended tragically.
Yeah, but
We don't even know what happened there.
yeah, I remember.
What's Christopher Walken doing there?
Yeah.
But Elizabeth Taylor, actually, I thought he was a good husband, John Warner, and I got his first wife was very rich, and his second wife was Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say rich, she was like the heiress of a fortune or something.
Mhm.
And then I think, I don't think they broke up the marriage, but they eventually divorced, and he was a single
Right.
man, and he
Right.
and he met Liz, and then he married recently, a few years ago, he married a third time,
Right.
very
Right.
quietly, and he was John Warner was a good guy, and then Liz, but my parents met Liz at the
Oh.
Jewish Community Center when she
Wow.
came, because she converted to Judaism, I think, for that husband she had, Michael Todd, and she claimed she always maintained her Jewishness. So fine with
Wow.
me, fine with
Yeah.
me. Elizabeth Taylor, what can I tell you? I think she was knighted a few years ago. Do you remember any good movies you saw with her in it?
Oh, I liked her in Butterfield 8.
Oh, you like Butterfield
Oh
8?
yeah,
Yeah.
my grandmother taped it years ago. My dad and I kept it
Well,
for.
she won the Oscar for that.
Yeah, and we watched it one time
With
years
John
ago.
O'Hara,
Yeah,
yeah.
I only watched it
Lawrence
one
Harvey
time.
is in
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
there was this part when her and what's his face.
Lawrence Harvey.
Yeah, we're close together, and then she would like take a heel of her shoe and like step between his toes or something. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
wow, that hurt.
It was a yeah. It was based on a famous book by John O'Hara, who wrote a lot of lurid stuff.
Mhm.
And she didn't even. I don't think she even showed up to get her Oscar, because she was sick, and she didn't think she'd get it, but she got it. A lot of people claim she got it because she was sick.
Yeah.
And then she did win it again, like 7 years later, um, for Who's Afraid of Virginia
Oh, I
Woolf,
like that one too.
with George Siegel and Richard
Yeah, that's a
Burton
good
and
one.
Sandy
Yeah, I like
Dennis. A
that
very
one.
good play by Edward Albee,
Yeah.
and I think it was like Mike Nichols'
I
first
think
movie.
it was one of the first movies that had like cussing in it.
Yes, it was actually. We were talking about the rating system last week,
Right,
and that
yes.
was the first movie, I think, that they actually, that wasn't like a sex movie, but was adult enough that they didn't allow kids into it unless they were accompanied by an adult.
Yeah.
You know, it's I mean, and then it's kind of it's just these people that are just fighting the whole
And they were
2 hours.
alcoholics.
Well, they were, yeah. There was an old
Yeah.
couple and a young couple, and George and Martha, I remember, and then it has this weird ending about a child, and that's still not really explained all that much.
Yeah.
You have to assume certain things if you see the movie. But the movie is so good, and Elizabeth Taylor is a great actress.
Yeah.
She was a child actress in
Yeah.
National Velvet and a
Yeah,
lot of
I
movies.
liked her as a
She's in the
child too.
original Jane Eyre and Lassie movies.
She's the same age as my grandfather was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that the last 20 years of her life, she only made one movie, and that was The Flintstones. She
Oh
played
wow.
Wilma's mother,
Oh yeah.
and she did those commercials for White Diamonds cologne,
Oh yeah, I
perfume.
remember White Diamonds.
But she said that she can't understand why she still garnered a lot of attention,
Yeah.
because I'm not making any movies. I have no reason to appear on talk shows or anything. But people were still interested in knowing about her and seeing her
Yeah.
in person and that type
Yeah.
of thing. She actually did very well. She raised, I think, even though she wasn't making movies, she was
Mhm.
raising a lot of money for AIDS research. She had a lot of friends who were dying of AIDS. Rock Hudson, of course, most famous. So
She was
she did
with
a lot of.
Michael Jackson too.
She was friends with Michael. She was friend with all those. You know, she was actually. Uh, you have to give someone credit to be friends with people that become suddenly unpopular,
Yeah.
like Rock Hudson or like Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
because a really good friend sticks with you.
Yes.
Anyone can be a good friend when things are going well.
Yeah.
Your real friends are the ones that when you're not doing so well, and then they call them fair weather friends,
Yeah. Whatever.
rainy
Yeah.
day friends.
I had a lot of those in my lifetime. So.
We all have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some friends who are really controlling and everything too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a friend that's kind of controlling right now, but I don't want to really talk to her. So.
Oh, it's her. I thought it was me. I'm sorry.
It wasn't. It's
Oh,
never
I'm so.
you.
Woo.
It's never you.
Because I,
This is another person I know.
I always try to. I always. Yeah, because I try to be not a rainy day friend.
Yeah.
I try to when people are doing wrong. Because I always feel when things are going well, they don't need me.
Right.
So
Exactly.
why waste my time?
Right. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't need any of that. And so let's see. Have you Oh, this isn't. This is a movie. This is like my favorite movie, and this is a VHS.
Yeah. I used
It's
to have a
called
lot of those.
Humoresque, and maybe I'll talk about it some other time. But this is movie has a lot of classical music in it,
Yes.
and I've mentioned that Isaac Stern plays the violin in it, but it's John Garfield and Oscar Levanda's in it. But it's probably Joan Crawford's greatest movie. Yeah,
Wow.
and even though she made a lot of great movies, and she's so good in
Yeah.
this one, they should remake this. But the trouble is, they don't remake a lot of really good films because they were good the first time. And the John Garfield character, someone from this movie is still alive, even though it was made in 1942 or something. And that guy is Robert Blake,
Wow.
or Bobby Blake as it's
Huh?
called. He plays the young John Garfield. Robert Blake eventually grew up and was accused of murdering his wife,
Right.
and he was acquitted. And now they're saying that he probably didn't do it. Probably
Yeah.
this woman had so many people wanted to kill her.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. But so this is humoresque,
Yes.
and I can talk about this anytime because I
Yeah.
just love classical music.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah,
I love all kinds of music.
yeah,
So, yeah.
and uh, so also J. Carroll Nash is in a lot of good people. It's a,
Yeah.
it's a it's a Paramount film. It's a
MGM.
Warner Brothers film.
Oh.
Pretty much anything with John Garfield is Warner Brothers.
Looks like it's MGM though.
Well, MGM and Warner Brothers are owned by the same people, which is
Oh.
Turner.
Okay.
You know who Ted Turner was, don't you? He was the guy that started colorizing black and white movies,
Yeah.
and then that kind of fell by the wayside. He owned he now has Turner Classic Movies is like the best thing for movies because it actually shows those things aren't colorized. They actually show them as they are,
Right.
and which is great. They actually do the best. It's like film history, and if
Oh.
they'll take a color film like the Gone with the Wind
Right.
and restore it, and the best type of movies to colorize are already colored films.
Right. Yeah.
And but it was so controversial. All these people like John Huston and everybody were up in arms that they were colorizing movies
Yeah.
and making black and white movies in the color. He says because it changes everything. And I joke that his next his he says what's he going to do next? Colorize the black and white parts of the Wizard of Oz? Maybe he'll take a Marx Brothers film and try to make Harpo talk.
Oh lordy. Oh lordy.
But
Lordy. Lordy.
but anyway, it was wow. This was a good
Yes,
yogurt
it
moment.
was. It was great.
Yes. Thanks for having me here, Mary Elizabeth. I love
Absolutely.
being on the Mary Elizabeth Variety Hour.
Yes.
It's my
Yes.
favorite show. Right
Yes.
after right after Batman.
Ah, Lord.
It's
Yeah.
almost this show is almost as good as the Carol Burnett show. I
Yeah.
didn't say it's as good. It's almost as good.
Ah.
Nothing could be that good. Anyway,
Ah.
thank you, Mary.
Amen. All right. Well, I just want to thank you all for tuning in. And you stay healthy. Make sure you get all those vaccines if you haven't already. So, and may God bless you all. He loves you all so much. Take care.